Welcome to the Living Ageless and Bold podcast. Each episode, I bring you amazing women who inspire, educate, and share their experiences and journeys along the way. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's relax and have some fun hearing what can be accomplished after 55.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to have some fun talking with Adelina Winfield, who is an over-50 influencer. And as we know from past episodes, you just don't wake up one morning and be an influencer on Instagram. So we're going to talk about how she got here. And I've been following her for a while and got some interesting things that we're going to talk about. So thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Christina. First, I want to say thank you for what you're doing, because you are shining the light and focusing on women over 50, over 55. And it's a long forgotten demographic, a long hidden demographic. And, you know, we are out here and people like you are making a difference, just like showcasing what we're doing, because life ain't over.
Oh, and you just did a post that I loved. You guys all have to go to her Instagram, but it's like you're dressed up kind of like a little old lady, like what people think of a woman of 60. And then it's the next shot and you're like all hot, walking down the street, like looking gorgeous. I'm like, yes, that's us. Like, we're not our grandmothers. It's 50, 60, 70. It's, wake up world. We're here. We're going to be here for a while.
That's right. We're setting them straight.
Yes, exactly. So you didn't just wake up. I always like to tell the story because we do have a lot of younger women that listen. And I speak, if you follow me, you guys know I'm speaking at Virginia Tech a lot. And when I speak in these classes and the women hear my story of what I've done since I've turned 50, and I get these incredible emails from them like, oh my God, I thought I was a failure at 21 because I didn't get this job or I didn't get this. And you made me realize, I can change even in my 50s. So let's get a little bit of background, who you are and what you did in your past life to get you where you are here.
Okay. So I am a born and bred a Brooklyn native. Well, not native now because I'm in Arizona, but I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and I had a 30 plus year career in the fashion business, which was amazing. I grew up in Brooklyn. I would just hop on the train and go into the city. It was amazing. So, I traveled the world, I traveled to Europe for ideas.
Wait, what did you do? Were you a designer? Like what? I didn't know any of this about you. So
yeah, it's my other life. So yeah. And speaking to your women who are in their other life now, I was a designer. I did children's clothing. I did ladies' clothing. So I worked for Guess Kids. I worked for urban brands when Jay-Z's Rockaware brand was popular. So, I launched that, and Echo Red, other urban brands that are from like the 90s and the early 2000s when all that hip hop clothing was really popular. And then I sold vintage clothing online and T-shirts, the whole gamut. Fashion was my life. So
and this does explain why you always look so good on your Instagram. Now I know.
Oh, you're so kind. You're so kind. Thank you. So that was my other life. You want me to segue into how I got here?
Yeah.
So fast forward, I'm in the business 30 something years, and you do get older. It's a youth oriented business. So, I had a lot of success. I created, lots of brands. I earned millions of dollars for these brands. And suddenly I'm over 50. And suddenly I'm not the pretty young thing anymore. I didn't let my hair go silver yet, but I felt it. I felt the younger women were getting hired. They were making less money. And a lot of the women my age in my, category and, designing, we were getting pushed out. So that's what happened to me, a little by surprise. I had planned to stay in the fashion business all the way to retirement. And then I found myself, I think I was around 55, the company downsized. Many of us got laid off, and I kind of had to start all over again. So the landscape, the work landscape was different. I know that you interviewed someone about interviewing, in this mature, what they're looking for now. I saw that. And it's different because when I was younger, it was word of mouth. They stole me away from this company. They stole me away from that. Right. And, now here I am kind of out there and the landscape was way different. And so I just freelanced a little bit. And, I was kind of like in a crisis age because menopause, I was an empty nester and I was getting a divorce. So I had all these things going on and it was like the world was crumbling and I no longer knew who I was because my identity was in my job, my family, and
you're a wife, you're a mom, I get it. Yeah.
Right. So that's I was in that little hole.
And then it was time for reinvention. Like what was it that got you over that hump?
Well, there were two things. One thing I did, because I was divorced, because my kids were, now out of the house pretty much, I said, I want to do something different. I lived in New York City all my life and I had visited Austin, Texas a few times and it just really spoke to me. So I just got up. This was probably the bravest thing I've ever done. My son was in his last semester at Hampton University in Virginia. So I got rid of a lot of stuff. I packed everything I could pack in a car, dropped him off at university, and just kept going and started over. And I looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I really did that. But you know what? I didn't have ties to business anymore. I didn't have, of course, I could always see my family, but it was the bravest thing that I did. And that started kind of like a whole like resurrection of myself because I started things new friends. I didn't know anyone. So that was.
I hope this wasn't too close to COVID because I've heard of, people moved and then COVID hit and they're like, I'm in a new town. Matter of fact, we have a friend's daughter who took a teaching position in Austin right before COVID hit. And then there was, virtual school she didn't know anybody. She had no friends. No. So that was pretty tough.
Yeah, no, luckily it was 2014 and I ended up.
Good.
Yeah, I just stayed 3 years, but it was wonderful. I don't regret it. So, if there's something that people want to do, like that's the time, so that was real pivotal in helping me feel better. It didn't help 100% because of the whole menopause, like kind of depression. I didn't feel right in my body. Some of the vibrancy was gone. And, so I came back to New York and to be close to family and started over. But I did meet my boyfriend. We can talk about that later too.
I do want to talk about that. There's a lot to talk about with that. But it's so interesting you say that. I have, and she's been a guest on the show, an old friend of mine who's a professional makeup artist, and she talked all about skin over 50. But Tracy lost her husband during COVID or after COVID. He had a complication from COVID, in his mid 50s. And she went on a trip by herself to Europe. And she said it was the most freeing thing she has ever done. And she recommends that to everybody, like just go. She took his ashes and that's why she went. But I think she spent 2 weeks completely by herself in Europe and loved it.
Yeah. And it could be scary, right? Because you've never done anything quite like that in a new place. I mean, and it takes, some courage to get up into, but what do you have to lose, and I'm sure it was so great for her.
So when did you start? So now you go back, you're confident, you've done this big thing. When did you start really empowering the gray and the I am over 50 and I'm hot and, just really owning who you are and not letting menopause get you down and you're still single at this point. So how did you transition into I'm going to make a platform for myself and for other women?
Great question, because it happened quite by accident. A lot of people just have Instagram accounts and showing their family, kind of like Facebook, right? Just showing, so I just started showing a little style and a little just of life, my grandkids. And my oldest son, Justin, who I call him my brand manager.
And And I have to tell you, I have a Justin too. I saw that. So excellent choice in name.
Yeah, and he is my absolute biggest cheerleader because, for all these years, 30, 40 years, I was dyeing my hair, all the way up into the end of my career. I was still dyeing my hair. But as you get older, when you dye your hair and the gray is coming in, they come in faster and faster and faster. So, oh, yeah, yeah. When it got to dying at like 2 to 3 weeks, I'd be like, oh my God, I can't do it. But I resisted, because my son would say to me, Mom, bring out your inner Storm. And for those of you who don't know Storm and X-Men, Halle Berry played her with the white hair. And, she's been a character with the white hair and she creates the storm. And I didn't want to do it because I felt I would look old. So it took me a while. It's not for everybody, but finally I did it. I was taking a trip. I was turning 60 and I was taking a trip to Italy, believe it or not. And I had my gray hairs were coming in and I made the decision to do it. And I was dating at this time. And my boyfriend, Dave, who's now my husband, he was on board with it. So, it was great to have someone supportive. So anyway, I put braids in to go on this trip because I didn't want white hair and then dark. I didn't want the zebra look, raccoon, whatever, skunk look. So I put braids in and it enabled me to see what my full gray head would look like. And people were stopping me. They loved it. And I was like, oh, I think I can do this. I can, live with it. So I decided to chronicle it on Instagram, showing pictures. The Silver Sister community found me and I found them, and the rest is history. I started just, showing my transition, as you probably see many women doing. And about in the 6th month is when it does take patience. In the 6th month is when I fully felt, oh my God, this is it, and I didn't look old. I felt great. I accepted myself. And that's when it all started.
I love it. And you have the greatest shirts that you sell on your website that I love. Great. Grayt.
Thank
love
you.
that.
Yes. And gray hair is a crown of glory, and Silver Sisters. Yes. Yes.
I love it. I am so gray and I'm still dying.
Hey, it's okay. You have to be ready.
Yeah. For me, it changes for my hair when the grays come in, it just doesn't work. Like maybe I should just let it go. Maybe I'd have some gorgeous wavy gray hair. But I'm not quite there yet.
And it's okay. You can try wigs. You can go into a store.
Oh, that's true.
And I did that too. I didn't like the wigs though, the styles, but they've gotten better. They've gotten better. The gray hair wigs are more stylish now.
And my mom grayed very early and just embraced it. And my aunt she's 87, but she's gorgeous. I mean, she's always been gorgeous. And, both of them with the gray hair and, so it is. And I love that your whole community, and you look gorgeous with it. Absolutely gorgeous.
I'm sure you will when you're ready.
All right, let's talk about your boyfriend, who's now your husband, because as I went through and learned more about you, that was an interesting time for you. Like you experienced some pretty difficult stuff getting to where you are now.
Absolutely. Now, before I left New York, I was online, and being online is very scary to a lot of women over 50 because they haven't done it or they've just come out of a 30-year marriage, and it was a different world, right? A guy could come up to you and say, hey, you look lovely. You want to have dinner? That doesn't really happen today anymore. It can, but basically we have to go online, which is, a daunting thing if you're brand new on the dating scene.
Mike, I have a lot of girlfriends in that exact scenario, divorced after 30 years. And we've had some friends, like we've helped build out their profiles and the horror stories of the people that, you don't quite look like your picture and they really aren't who they say, what they do. And yeah, it's gotta be a difficult thing And you're putting yourself out there. You're right. You're not at a bar where somebody walks up and it's like, oh, she's pretty. Oh, he's handsome. Yeah, I'll have a drink with him or go to dinner like we did back in the day. You've got to put yourself out there on your profile, right? You've got to give a lot away ahead of time.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right, because you don't always get what you see. But the beauty about being mature women is we know what we want, we know who we are, and we can be more discerning. And, I kind of like had a radar to pick people's BS and stuff like that a little better than I did when I was in my 20s. So there are advantages to being a mature woman. But we met online. I was actually in Texas and he was in California. And that's another thing. A lot of people are not open to long distance, but I would suggest try it. You never know, right? If your radius is just your town and you're not having luck, open it up, see what else is out there. Just be open to it. You never know. That happened to me. So,
look at the Golden Bachelor.
Right.
And they all knew going into it where he lived. So, but I've heard that from other people too, that, yeah, you lived somewhere, but what if you did find somebody for that next chapter, and would it be that terrible to move away? So yeah, you're really limiting if you stay in your, like you said, your 20-mile radius.
Right. And so, that's what I did. I opened myself up to that. And when I was in Austin, I did a lot of online dating, mostly coffee dates. That's what I suggest, coffee dates. So if you want to get out of there, you can get out quick. You don't have to stay too long. No chemistry, no problem. So he was in California and I was in Texas, and we had just been friends for a while. If you saw my Instagram live that I did with some other women, I tell the story of how we were just friends. And, because it was long distance, so we got to know each other. Thank goodness for FaceTiming and WhatsApping, because we got to see each other. It's no longer just emailing or phone. So that tells you a lot too, once you go on the video chat. But then I was moving back to New York and I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. And he said, well, let me come visit you. And I was like, oh, before you leave, let me visit you. Hey, if nothing happens, if nothing, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So he did come out. We had great chemistry, but then I moved back to New York and we had a long distance relationship for about 4 years, back and forth. And then COVID happened and I didn't see him for almost a year. And then we got married. Both of us were 65 in 22. So I want to encourage folks out there.
And I didn't want to ask you, but wow, you look fantastic.
Thank you.
Which I would expect nothing less of you to, but that's amazing. So you got married, you said 62, you got married?
60,
or 65?
65 in 22.
Wow. In 22.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic.
A lot of women find that so encouraging because it's daunting to put your feet back out there. It's it can be scary. Things are different. So,
but so you are an influencer. You have a lot of followers, but you were in a biracial marriage, and you guys are so cute together. Oh my gosh, your videos about this is us on Instagram, and then this is us at home, like like real life. I think is so fun. But you said in one of your posts that you had some not nice things said about it.
Yes. And, the reality is once you put yourself out there on, in social media, I guess it's part of it. So I did get some really not so nice comments, things that people say. And, they have no qualms about putting it in the, comments. So what they say is everything is content. So I turned it into content. And, it's only a small minority of people who are negative like that, but you're always going to find them compared to the wonderful, great comments that I get. But yes, it's out there and it's unbelievable what you see.
People are stupid. You know what it is? They're jealous. So I tell the story. My uncle is gay, and he and his spouse, well, they finally got married when the state of Washington Like they got their marriage license right away when they could get married there. And I think they've been together 40 years, 45 years. It's like, what heterosexual couple can say that?
Right.
That who's just, I think people are just jealous that, you found love again at 65. You stole a really good looking guy off the market because he's quite handsome. And they're probably like, hey, that's not fair. That should be me. And then they say stupid things online.
They do. They're either jealous or just not happy.
Happy, right.
Yeah. So
somebody told me, I was just on a trip with my husband's company, and she has a 6-year-old who's going through a little bit of bullying at school. And I love the way she turned it to him to say, it's not you, it's them. Like, you should feel sorry for them. We don't know what's happening in their home with their friends that's making them act out on you, but it's not your fault. So, right, this is not your fault. They have some issue or problem but why they voice it just astounds me. Yeah. But I love that you just keep posting, and you guys are just you look like a really great couple, and you have a lot of fun, and you look fantastic together.
Thank you. And to what you're saying, there's this guy posted a really funny thing, and I did a video to that as well. And he said, that's a them problem. And he made a funny song about it. So that's
I love that.
What he's saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice would you give? Because you obviously were married for quite a long time and then got into the dating world, somebody who's been married 30 years, like give some advice to women listening who might be going through this. How do you get your toes into that?
Well, you just have to decide that that's what you want to do. Unfortunately, I've tried to help a few friends, like they were motivated, and then, I would help them with their profile, I'd help them with their photos, and then they would, I guess, get scared and decide that they didn't want to do it, and it just kind of saddens me because nothing ventured, nothing gained, for real. You have to do it. You have to try, right? So I would just say, go online. There's a lot of free ones, like you can sign up for free and check it out. Sign up a couple of them and just kind of scroll through and see who's available. That's one thing. The second thing is be happy in yourself anyway, whether you have a partner or not. It's like the world can read you and what you're going through. So just work on yourself, be happy. Don't look for someone else to complete you. Be complete so that you're two whole people coming together, right? And so when you're complete, you can kind of recognize a broken person, right? So that's something that I learned probably in the last 8 years or so, meeting broken people, and you can see that. So those are just a few things. Work on yourself, be happy in yourself, and put yourself out there and go places where the men might be. Where might that be? I've been asked. Maybe political events that you would never have gone to before, business meetings, real estate, whatever you like to do. Just go out. It's not going to happen sitting on your couch.
Okay, I have to ask you, how many frogs did you kiss before you found your prince?
Oh my God.
It doesn't have to be kiss, go out with. You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you, I was online for 4 years.
Wow.
Off and on, because when one site wasn't working, I would regroup, redo my profile, and get back on. No, and I did do that. And I know a lot of women do that. And sometimes you see the same men on different sites.
Yeah.
They see me too, right? So it's so
right.
Funny. So,
but that's important to know. So people have a realistic expectation that odds are you're not going to go out on one date and find your Dave right away, that you're going to have to try it. But kind of fun too, though. If they're not, you might not have chemistry, but you might meet somebody pretty cool.
Right. Some of them became friends, and then you have somebody to go to concerts with or something like that. So that did happen. And don't be so disappointed, like on your first couple of dates. I mean, you meet somebody for coffee, that may not be your husband. Just be realistic, another thing is, what I liked about it for me is it got me acclimated to being around men again, just even for coffee dates. I wasn't so nervous or, didn't feel so out of place like dating again because, I was around men again.
Right. Right. You're out of practice. I, I don't think I'd have game anymore. Oh, okay. Let's talk about fashion over 50, over 60. We did have an episode on, and I don't know if you know Tanya Sterile on Style. She's in New York, but she's great. It's all about the confidence part of it. That if you dress and you know this, if you put something on, you look in the mirror like, I look good, you're going to go out feeling so much more confident. And we like to break the stereotypes. I'm still wearing a bikini at 57, which was unheard of, for my mother's generation. But what are some tips for women? And I also don't want to look like my 24-year-old daughter. So what's the happy medium to look, quote unquote, our age, but still hip and sexy and fun?
Well, that's a good point that you said that we don't look like, we are definitely not like our mothers or grandmothers. Nothing wrong with them, love them. But they kind of looked old at 40, the way they dressed. I don't know if it was the style back then, or whatever. But what happened to me is, especially since my gray hair, since this transition came in, I've explored more with color. Living in New York, you just wear a lot of black. You just do. It's just fashiony. It's, it forgives all the, it's clean. It's classy. You can't go wrong, right? It forgives all the sins. Black is amazing. But, I had too much black. And then when I moved to Austin and then out here, and I'm in Arizona, I hardly see people wearing black like that. And then I embraced my brighter colors. I explore colors like this, which I probably wouldn't have worn. I stayed away from red. And now I'm like, red brightens me up. So that's one thing. Explore color, explore new styles that complement you, maybe bolder prints. I know a lot of women, I have a lot of eyeglasses now that are funky. I didn't do that before. And it's okay to wear shorts. I
still wear shorts, and I love a skirt. That's my favorite thing now. I love a skirt.
Right. I mean, and again, people try to tell you, say negative things. Oh, granny needs to sit down. But if you still have decent legs, flaunt them. There are so many women who, our generation is very much healthier, much more fit. And we just look good. I meet people every day and they're like 60, 70. I'm like, it's amazing. So you can express yourself. But like you said, you don't want to, maybe wear hot pants like your daughter or whatever. But know your limitations, know your boundaries. I say we want to look good for our age. We don't want to look young. We want to look great for our age.
And I work hard. Like, I think my legs today look better than they did in my 20s because I work out more now than I did in my 20s. And I'm like, I want to show them. Like, they're okay. Get a little color on them and they're looking pretty good.
That's right. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, that's great. So we end every episode with the same two questions. So I say, what is the greatest thing you've accomplished since you turned 50? But since you could say since you turned 60 or since you've been 50. Let's phrase it that way.
Well, I know it's cliche, but I'm so proud of my two sons. One is 40 and one is 31. And, they actually come back and they'll tell me, you were right about this and you were right about that. I wasn't right.
Love that.
I know 20 years ago, I was not right, but now that they're more mature, I'm right. And that they can acknowledge it means more than anything. It means that I poured into their lives and they're looking and they receive the truth. So, I mean, money can't buy that. So that's one of the main things.
What do your boys do?
My youngest son is a sports writer in New York. He covers the Knicks for the Daily News.
Awesome.
So he loves that. And my oldest son is in the medical field. He works at the hospital for special surgery. And he has this interesting career where they deal with how surgeons and interns do surgeries on cadavers. So I don't know where he got that from, but
his father, definitely his father.
so that's what he loves it, and he's doing really well. So I'm proud of them. Thank you for asking.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh, maybe in Capri, sitting by the. I've been there. I love Italy
with an Aperol spritz, and
I love Italy. So maybe traveling some more, and I don't know, being somewhere warm, where it's warm. That's my dream and goal. And I hope to influence more women to just live fully at this age. I wrote something down. It's like every day is a gift. Open it and be present. We've taken care of others for years, and we need to take care of ourselves. So,
and tell everyone what your Instagram handle is, because I want everyone to go follow you.
Oh yes, please, thank you. I'm at Fly Granny BK. So that's,
and what does that mean? Fly Granny back? I wasn't sure. I meant to ask you that earlier. What is that?
That's so funny. BK is the abbreviation for Brooklyn.
So, okay, got it.
No, you know what? And a lot of people don't know that, especially, it if you lived in Brooklyn, it, but, and I find that I have to explain it. So that's Brooklyn. Fly Granny, the term fly was a term used very widely in the 70s when people looked just fabulous. Oh, honey, you look fly. There was even a song.
Yeah.
Look at how you look so fly. And so, I consider myself fly. And I'm a granny. I'm a grandmother to two beautiful grandchildren. My granddaughter's 12 and my grandson is 7. So that's hence granny. And I'm blessed. So.
Oh, you are. And you're just awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, Adelina. Everyone, check her out. She's inspiring. Maybe I'll go gray soon. I'll keep following you.
Let me know when you're ready. I'll hold your hand.
Okay. That was great. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you for listening or for watching this episode of Living Ageless and Bold. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe. And if you like the episode, I hope that you will give us a great review. You can also head over to livingagelessandbold.com and sign up for information, inspiration, and exclusive opportunities for us, women over 55. Thanks for listening. And remember, no matter what you do, keep living ageless and bold.